Gaius Plinius Caesulius Secundus, born Gaius Caesulius or Gaius Caesulius Silo, better known as Pliny the Younger, was a lawyer, author, and magistrate of ancient Rome. Pliny's uncle, Pliny the Elder, helped raise and educate him. Both Pliny the Elder and Younger were witnesses to the eruption of Vesuvius in 79 AD, in which the former died. Pliny wrote hundreds of letters, many of which still survive, that are of great historical value for the time period. Some addressed to reigning emperors or to notables such as the historian Tacitus. Pliny served as an imperial magistrate under Trajan, and his letters to Trajan provide one of the few surviving records of the relationship between the imperial office and provincial governors. Pliny was considered an honest and moderate man. He rose through a series of imperial civil and military offices, the cursus honorum. He was a friend of the historian Tacitus and employed the biographer Suetonius on his staff. Pliny also came into contact with other well-known men of the period, including the philosophers Artemidorus and Euphrates the Stoic during his time in Syria. Background: childhood. Pliny the Younger was born in Novum Comum around 61 AD, the son of Lucius Caesulius Silo, born there, and wife Plinia Marcella, a sister of Pliny the Elder. He was the grandson of senator and landowner Gaius Caesulius. He revered his uncle, Pliny the Elder, and provides sketches of how his uncle worked on the Naturalis Historia. Pliny's father died at an early age when Pliny was still young. As a result, Pliny probably lived with his mother. His guardian and preceptor in charge of his education was Lucius Virginius Rufus, famed for quelling a revolt against Nero in 68 AD. After being first tutored at home, Pliny went to Rome for further education. There he was taught rhetoric by Quintilian, the great teacher and author, and Nicetas Sacerdos of Smyrna. It was at this time that Pliny became closer to his uncle Pliny the Elder. When Pliny the Younger was 18, his uncle Pliny the Elder died attempting to rescue victims of the Vesuvius eruption, and the terms of the elder Pliny's will passed his estate to his nephew. In the same documents, the younger Pliny was adopted by his uncle. As a result, Pliny the Younger changed his name from Gaius Caesulius Silo to Gaius Plinius Caesulius Secundus. There is some evidence that Pliny had a sibling. A memorial erected in Como repeats the terms of a will by which the aedile Lucius Caesulius Silo, son of Lucius, established a fund, the interest of which was to buy oil for the baths of the people of Como. The trustees are apparently named in the inscription: L. Caesulius Valens and P. Caesulius Secundus, sons of Lucius, and the concubernalized Lutulla. The word concubernalized describing Lutulla is the military term meaning tent mate, which can only mean that she was living with Lucius, not as his wife. The first man mentioned, Caesulius Valens, is probably the oldest son. Pliny the Younger confirms that he was a trustee for the largest of my ancestors. It seems unknown to Pliny the Elder, so Valens' mother was probably not his sister Plinia. Perhaps Valens was Lutulla's son from an earlier relationship. Adult life. Pliny the Younger married 3 times, firstly when he was very young, about 18, to a stepdaughter of Vecchius Proculus, of whom he became a widower at age 37, secondly to the daughter of Pompeia Celerina, at an unknown date, and thirdly to Calpurnia, daughter of Calpurnius and granddaughter of Calpurnius Fabatus of Comum. Letters survive in which Pliny records this latter marriage taking place, as well as his attachment to Calpurnia and his sadness when she miscarries their child. Pliny is thought to have died suddenly during his appointment in Bithynia Pontus, around 113 AD, since no events referred to in his letters date later than that. Career. Pliny was by birth of equestrian rank, that is, a member of the aristocratic order of equites, the lower of the 2 Roman aristocratic orders that monopolized senior civil and military offices during the early empire. His career began at the age of 18 and initially followed a normal equestrian route, But, unlike most equestrians, he achieved entry into the upper order by being elected quaestor in his late 20s. Pliny was active in the Roman legal system, especially in the sphere of the Roman centumviral court, which dealt with inheritance cases. Later, he was a well-known prosecutor and defender at the trials of a series of provincial governors, including Baebius Massa, governor of Boeotia; Marius Priscus, the governor of Africa; Gaius Caesulius Classicus, governor of Boeotia, and most ironically in light of his later appointment to this province, Gaius Julius Bassus and Varenus Rufus, both governors of Bithynia Pontus. Pliny's career is commonly considered as a summary of the main Roman public charges and is the best documented example from this period, offering proof for many aspects of imperial culture. Effectively, Pliny crossed all the principal fields of the organization of the early Roman Empire. It is an achievement for a man to have not only survived the reigns of several disparate emperors, especially the much detested Domitian, but also to have risen in rank throughout. Career summary writings. As an author, Pliny started writing at the age of 14, penning a tragedy in Greek. In the course of his life he wrote a quantity of poetry, most of which is lost. Also known as a notable orator, he professed himself a follower of Cicero, but his prose was certainly more magniloquent and less direct than Cicero's. The only oration that now survives is the Panegyricus Traiani. This was pronounced in the Senate in 100 and is a description of Trajan's figure and actions in an adulatory and emphatic form, especially contrasting him with the Emperor Domitian. It is, however, a relevant document that allows us to know many details about the emperor's actions in several fields of his administrative power, such as taxes, justice, military discipline, and commerce. Recalling the speech in one of his letters, Pliny shrewdly defines his own motives thus: "I hoped in the first place to encourage our emperor in his virtues by a sincere tribute, and, secondly, to show his successors what path to follow to win the same renown, not by offering instruction but by setting his example before them." To proffer advice on an emperor's duties might be a noble enterprise, but it would be a heavy responsibility verging on insolence. Whereas to praise an excellent ruler and thereby shine a beacon on the path posterity should follow would be equally effective without appearing presumptuous. Epistulae. The largest surviving body of Pliny's work is his Epistulae, a series of personal missives directed to his friends and associates. These letters are a unique testimony of Roman administrative history and everyday life in the 1st century AD. Especially noteworthy among the letters are two in which he describes the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in August 79, during which his uncle Pliny the Elder died, and one in which he asks the emperor for instructions regarding official policy concerning Christians. Epistles concerning the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. The two letters describing the eruption of Mount Vesuvius were written by Pliny approximately 25 years after the event, and both were sent in response to the request of his friend the historian Tacitus, who wanted to know more about Pliny the Elder's death. The two letters have great historical value due to the accurate description of Vesuvius' eruption. Pliny's attention to detail in the letters about Vesuvius is so keen that modern volcanologists describe that type as Plinian eruptions. Epistle concerning the Christian religion. As the Roman governor of Bithynia Pontus, Pliny wrote a letter to Emperor Trajan around 112 AD and asked for counsel on dealing with Christians. In the letter, Pliny detailed an account of how he conducted trials of suspected Christians who appeared before him as a result of anonymous accusations and asked for the emperor's guidance on how they should be treated. Pliny had never performed a legal investigation of Christians, and thus consulted Trajan in order to be on solid ground regarding his actions, and saved his letters and Trajan's replies. Neither Pliny nor Trajan mention the crime that Christians had committed. Except for being a Christian, Trajan's response to Pliny makes it clear that being known as a Christian was sufficient for judicial action. The correspondence between Pliny and Emperor Trajan shows that the Roman Empire, as a government entity, did not at this time seek out Christians for prosecution or persecution. Pliny's letter is the earliest surviving Roman document to refer to early Christians. Manuscripts in France. Giovanni Giocondo discovered a manuscript of Pliny the Younger's letters containing his correspondence with Trajan. He published it in Paris, dedicating the work to Louis XII. Villas. Pliny loved villas, and, being wealthy, owned many, such as the one in Lake Como named Tragedy, because of its situation high on a hill. Another, on the shore of the lake, was named Comedy, because it was sited low down. Pliny's main estate in Italy was in the north of Umbria, under the passes of Bocca Traberia and Bocca Ceriale, where wood was cut for Roman ships and sent to Rome via the Tiber.